we're starting on our backs in supported bridge. So feet on the mat, knees bent, with that block right under your sacrum. So we want to feel that right where the tailbone is pretty firmly on the block. We're not hanging off of it with our back arched. We've still got the skull on the ground and the shoulder blades. Keeping the sacrum on the block, pick up one foot at a time. So knee comes just about over the hip. It doesn't even have to go that far. So that's the action of flexing the hip. Can we do this without lifting the low back off the block? Couple more times, getting this movement of the hip. Let's pause with that right foot up. And from here, we'll externally rotate and cross it over for figure four. So we're in this supported figure four bridge. Left hand comes up toward the ceiling. Let's pull those left fingers back with the right, coming into our wrist stretch. Keep pushing down into your left foot. So we do want some engagement in the left glute. We're not totally relaxed here. We're still pretty active through that left leg. Release that wrist stretch, bring the right foot back to the mat, recheck that your sacrum is on the block, pick up the left foot, externally rotate, cross it over. We're in figure four, push into that right foot. Right palm up, let's stretch out that right wrist, pull the fingers back, getting into that wrist extension, drawing those pelvic points in so that the pelvis stays level on top of the block. Release the wrist stretch, left foot comes down, push into both feet, lift your hips off the block, remove it, and we'll slowly lower down one vertebra at a time. Getting that sacrum to touch the ground again. Now the block is going to come between the knees, either the medium or thinnest way, whatever feels best as you check that triple S. Interlace your hands behind the head, elbows in toward the forehead. Take a huge breath into the side of the rib cage. On an exhale, hug the block, lift off the shoulder blades. Feel those two pelvic points draw in. Feel the front ribs come in closer toward each other and lean your skull back into your hands. Inhale to lower. Exhale, lift off the shoulder blades. It's a tiny lift. Hug the block, pelvic points draw in. Front ribs knit in, and maybe that lifts you a little bit more off the shoulder blades. Inhale to lower. Exhale, lift up. Lean your head back. Imagine a zipper that zippers up the whole front of the body. Let's extend the right leg, but keep hugging the block. Flex that right foot. Point the right toes, point the foot. Flex it again. Step it down. Inhale and lower. Exhale, lift off the shoulder blades, lean your skull back, draw the pelvic points in. Left leg extends, but keep hugging the block. Flex the foot, pull the toes back toward the shin, point the toes, flex the foot, step it down, inhale and lower. Exhale, lift off the shoulder blades, hug in on the block, pull your belly button down. Right leg extends. Hug the block, flex the foot, point the toes, flex the foot. Now stay here, rotate the ribs 1 inch to the right, stay lifted off that right shoulder blade, bring it back to center, lower the right foot, inhale and lower down. Exhale, lift up, pelvic points draw in, lean your skull back, left leg extends, flex the foot, point the toes, flex the foot and hold here. Turn 1 inch to the left. Stay off the left shoulder blades. Come back to center. Step the foot down. Inhale and lower down. Let's take a huge breath in and out. Release the block. Hug the knees in. Take a little rock side to side. Coming into quadruped. So make your way onto hands and knees. And we'll use a block here. So from our quadruped, shoulders are right over your wrist, hips are over your knees. So let's walk the knees in pretty tight so that the hips are right over the knees, lifting the front of the throat so the ears don't drop below the shoulders. Bring one block to your sacrum, so the back of the pelvis, we want to balance it there as we slide the right toes back. Keep the toes on the ground to start. Now make sure nothing in that triple S has changed. So we haven't dropped down or rounded the back. Float the right leg, just the toes off the ground. Teeny tiny movement here. Without losing the block, let's bend the right knee and pull the right thigh in, flexing the hip. Extend it back out. Hold the arms straight and strong. Pull that right thigh in toward the body any amount without rounding the back. Extend it back without arching the back or losing the connection in those deep core muscles. One more time, pull it in. This is hip flexion. And as you extend it back, that's hip extension. Hold that block steady. And then lower the right knee back into quadruped. Recheck in with that triple S. You can always adjust the block a little bit. Make sure ears don't drop below the shoulders. Left toes slide back. Now pause here. Make sure that just by stepping that left foot back, we haven't rounded the back. So feel that triple S, float the toes off the ground. Hold the block still as we pull the left thigh in without rounding the back. Extend that left hip back. Hold the block still. Pull it in to flex it. Keep lifting the front of the throat. Extending it back. Draw those pelvic points in. Pull that left knee in. Flexing the hip. Extend it back. Lower that left knee back to quadruped. Remove the block. Now we'll take a child's pose here. If you have two blocks or two things to just stack, you could try putting the blocks on either setting with the elbows on the blocks and then sit the hips back for a little bit of a chest opener, but we're going to keep lifting the front ribs up. So we're not sinking the chest through the hands. The same type of feeling can be done with just the fingertips on the mat, sitting the hips back any comfortable amount. They can be nice and high, but we want to keep the front ribs lifting up, almost like we're doing that cat rounding of the upper back to get a lot of space into the front of the shoulders. Good, let's bring it forward. Cat cow. If you've got two blocks, you could elevate both hands for cat cow or just regular shoulders over the wrist, arching and rounding the back. So now let's get all that movement in the spine since we predominantly want to hold neutral when we're weight bearing. So let the spine arch, which is extending the spine, and round, which is flexing the spine. We'll head to the front of the mat. So go ahead and make your way to the front of the mat and we'll start our sun salutations. Rising up, let's check in. Do we have ears over shoulders, shoulders over the rib cage over the pelvis? Reach the arms forward and up. Shoulder blades lift up like you're getting your armpits up towards your ears. Exhale, hips move back. We're trying to fold in half by bending the knees. So nice long spine. Right foot steps back. Lower the knee and the top of the foot, we're in low lunge. Grab your block or whatever you've got in the right hand. Check in. Do we have ears over the shoulders, over the ribs, over the pelvis? Swing the right arm forward and the left arm back. And then left arm forward, right arm back. So we're turning the ribs, but we're not turning the pelvis, which is one of the reasons that right glute should be firm or active right now so that the pelvis doesn't turn with the arms. Release the block. Hands come down, quadruped, cat cow. Move the spine. Tuck the toes. Let's lift into down dog. Weight stays in the hands as we pike the hips up, keeping the knees soft. You can walk the feet in as much as you need. Keep that upward lift up into the hip creases. Lower the knees back down to quadruped. Step your right foot through the hands. Left knee is down and the top of the foot. Same thing, we're in our low lunge. Grab the block with the left hand this time. Picture that broom behind your back. Really firm that left glute. Left arm swings forward, right arm back, and then we switch. So you can do this much quicker, but let's make sure that the pelvis isn't turning with it. So Nice and strong there, so the only movement is happening in the ribs and the chest turning. Hands come down. Maybe the blocks come forward. We're stepping the left foot forward to meet the right for bent knee forward fold. Push into the feet, reach the arms up. Tailbone reaches down, get those fingertips up high. Exhale, hinge, long spine. Left foot steps back, lower the knee, but not the toes this time. So we're in our tucked low lunge. Ears over the shoulders, over the ribs, over the pelvis. Bring that right hand to the sacrum where we had the block earlier. Left arm up. Left shoulder blade lifts way up, but keep the tailbone down so that we're not arching the back here. We've got the ribs in, the tailbone down, really reaching that left armpit up. Quadruped, hands come down, cat-cow. Moving with the breath. Tuck the toes, down dog, and keep the weight in the hands. Lift the hip creases, lift the front ribs up. You can pedal out the feet if that feels good. Lower back onto the knees for quadruped. Left foot steps forward. Right knee stays down, but we'll tuck the toes, low lunge. Lift up. Picture that groove behind your back. Let's do left hand at the sacrum, right above the tailbone, right arm up. Lift everything on your right side. So everything from that right hip up is lifting, but the tailbone is reaching down. Good, hands come forward or to the blocks. Right foot steps forward, bent knee forward fold. Push down into the feet, reach the arms forward and up. Starting our first sequence, exhale, hinge at the hips. Spine stays long. Right foot steps back. Lower the knee, but not the toes. Right hand will come to your block at whatever height feels good. Get the shoulder over that wrist. Now really secure this right shoulder in place so that it's not wiggling around as we turn the chest maybe an inch to the left. Let the right ear release to the right shoulder. Left arm can float up, but don't let the arm turn you. Lower the hands. Hands can come to two blocks if you've got them, or just hands on the ground. Quadruped to down dog. If you're in down dog, if you've got blocks or not, we're going to really bend the knees. Let the knees and toes swivel to the left. Keep pushing into the hands. And then swivel so your knees and toes face the right. Really bending the knees. So we're just doing this little swivel of the pelvis or the lower part of the body, but holding the arms just as active. Walk it forward into your bent knee forward fold. Push into the feet, reach the arms up. Pause here, tailbone reaches down. Let's try to flex that right hip. So any amount the thigh lifts up, but nothing changes in your posture. Keep pushing into that left big toe. Firm the left glute. Good, step it down, release the hands, second side. Arms lift forward and up. Reach those shoulder blades way up toward the ears. Exhale, hinge. Hips move back, torso comes forward. Left foot steps back. Lower the knee, but not the toes. We're in that modified twisted crescent. Left hand over the shoulder. Put that hand on the block if you've got it. Hold that left shoulder really strong as you turn just the chest, so not the low back, to the right. Let the left ear release to the shoulder. If that feels good, to release the neck. And then the right arm can float up, but don't let the arm twist you more than you already are. Breathing into the ribs. Keep pushing that left hand down. Right hand comes back down for quadruped. If you've got two blocks, put them under your hands for those down dog swivels. Tuck the toes, lift up. Soften the knees. Swivel to the right. And swivel to the left. So as we swivel the hips and the knees and the toes to one side, nothing really changes in the upper body. We're really pushing into both hands. So we're not turning the chest and shoulders with it. We're just swiveling the lower half of the body. Let's walk it forward. Bent knee, forward fold. Push into the feet and rise up. Pause here, feel that triple S, and then pick up the left foot. Balancing on that right leg, push down into that right big toe, feel really stable in this right hip. Step it down. All right, reach the arms forward and up. Sun salutation A, lift those shoulder blades. Exhale, hinge, hips move way back. Plant the hands, plank pose. Knees can be up or down in plank. Let's feel that triple S. Lifting the skull, so it's in line with the shoulder blades and the sacrum. Lower the knees and pause. Make sure the ears haven't dropped below the shoulders. Slightly draw those shoulder blades in. Exhale, lower the rest of the way down. Keep the top of the shoulders lifted. You can untuck the toes if that feels better. Drag your hands, and we're really trying to drag the hands back toward the back of the mat to open the chest. Zipper the pubic bone to the belly button so that pelvis stays neutral. Release, tuck the toes. You can lift into a down dog. You can shift back into a child's pose. You can even cat-cow here if that feels good. But wherever you are, checking with your breath, and if you're in down dog, let's really make sure we're not sinking the chest down through the shoulders, but we're lifting those front ribs up. Let's walk it forward, bend knee, forward fold. Push down into your feet. Reach those arms forward and up. Shoulder blades lift. We'll start a second sequence. Hands come down. Right foot steps back. We're in a high lunge. Soften that right knee. Check that that pelvis is upright, not tipping forward. So pubic bone is in line with the belly button. Arms can reach up. Now our first option is to just pull the arms down, like we're pulling the elbows back and up. So our first option is just the arms moving, getting this overhead reach and then a pull back. Now, if you want to add a tap and a hip flexion as you pull the arms, and then a tap back to your lunge as you lift them up overhead, you can do that option. You can skip the tap and go right to this hip flexion. So wherever you're working today, feel really secure in this left hip by pushing down into that left foot. So even though our right leg is the leg that's moving, our left leg is the one that's working harder right now to stabilize. Good. Pause in this high lunge. We're going to bring the hands to the heart. And it's just a little step, tap we're going to do. So we're going to turn to our right and just tap the left toes as if we're turning to a high lunge on the other side, kind of. And then turn back to the front and tap into that high lunge. So turn to the right, tap, and turn to the left. We're back in that high lunge. So we're just moving side to side, shifting our weight. Can we do this while we hold that pelvic bowl upright? Can we be a little light in the feet, light in the knees? We're going to end in that high lunge. So left foot forward, facing the front of the mat. Modified side plank, right hand comes down. If you've got a block, put that shoulder over that right wrist as you slide the right knee in. Left foot steps back, modified side plank. Secure that right shoulder, so draw that shoulder blade in toward the spine a little bit. Let's bring the left arm up and over, like we're doing a side bend toward the front of the mat. Glutes are active, pushing into that left foot. Do a little backstroke or a circle backwards with this left hand into quadruped. Down dog. If you've got two blocks, you can, of course, have both hands on blocks. Or just regular down dog. You can pedal the feet out. You can do those swivels. You can even do some shoulder shrugs here. Walk it forward, bent knee, forward fold. Push into the feet, reach the arms forward and up. Lift those shoulder blades up. Second side, hands come down, left foot steps back. Find that neutral position for your high lunge. Glutes are active, left knee is bent, arms up. Start with the elbow pull, so just pulling the arms down and then sweeping them up. Couple times of just this. Strong in the legs, pelvic bowl stays neutral. Now if you want to add the tap and the flex as you pull, and then the tap back to your lunge as the arms come up, you can do that. If you're feeling really balanced, you can try to skip the tap and go right to this hip flexion. But let's make sure our right glute is really working the whole time to support this right hip. Pause in that high lunge. We're doing that little side to side lunge here. So hands come to the heart. Let's turn to the left now, as if we're turning to the back of the mat for a high lunge, but you don't have to go all the way. And then turn back to the right, to the front, high lunge. Turn to the left as if you're heading into a high lunge, and just keep turning back and forth. Working that weight shift. Light in the feet. We're going to turn it back to the front of the mat. Left hand comes to the block for modified side plank. Left knee slides way in, so it's pretty close to that left wrist. Right foot steps back. Push that right foot into the ground. Push the left hand into the ground. Maybe we reach that right arm up and over like we're doing a nice side bend, getting a little bit more space between the rib cage and that side body area between the ribs and the pelvis. Breathe into that right side. And let's backstroke or circle backwards with that right arm. Plant your hand down, quadruped, on blocks or not, and we'll head to down dog. If you'd rather take child's pose, do that. Any option for your down dog, you can do those pedals with the feet, you can swivel, you can shoulder shrug. Let's walk it forward, bent knee, forward fold. Push down into the feet, arms will reach forward and up. Lower the hands down. We're heading into the stream and we're going to use the block a lot more. So we're going to be doing a lot of the same movements we've already done, but using the block in a different way. So the first thing we're going to do is take the block. It's going to go up between the knees, up between the thighs. And as you're in just Tadasana mountain pose, see if you can get this feeling of the glutes trying to wrap down to touch the block. So instead of being in this position, we want our glutes to go and feel that we're in that neutral, a little hugging on the block. So you're going to feel that engagement between the thighs, so in the inner thighs. And let's reach the arms forward and up, hugging the block, wrapping that tailbone down a little bit. Keep it there as you hinge. Can you keep that engagement in the legs as you hinge? Now, as we bring the hands down, we're going to remove the block. Step your right foot back and grab a block. Coming into a high lunge. Palm the block and reach up. So we're just holding the block between the palms, but really active. So push your hands into the block, hold that neutral. We're going to turn just the center of the chest, an inch to the left, and keep squeezing the block between your hands. So lots of activity in the arm muscles, and bring it back. Keep squeezing the block between your hands. Arms are as straight as feels comfortable. Turn the chest to the left. And back to center. So keep going. It's just a small turn. We're squeezing the block and just turning. So it's a lot of core work. We're really working the arms and the shoulders so that none of the movement is happening here in the pelvis. We're just turning the upper portion of the back. Hands come down. Head to quadruped for a moment. We're going to use the block just like we did in mountain pose. So the block's going to come all the way up between the inner thighs. And see if you can just walk the knees back into a plank pose here. So we're in a modified plank, the knees are down, but we're hugging the block. Just like we tried standing, can you wrap your glutes down as if your glutes could touch the block? So we're getting more of that engagement up into the pelvis. Lift the front of the throat. And as you exhale, let's try to keep the top of the shoulders lifted as we lower down. Good, all the way down. You might need to adjust the block a little bit so that most of it's behind you. And let's drag the hands back for Cobra. Keep that feeling of the glutes trying to touch the block, lifting the belly. Tuck the toes. We're gonna lift back into a modified plank. So the knees are gonna stay down, but we're gonna push into the hands and lift back to hands and knees. Walk those knees forward. We'll remove the block. Tuck the toes, downward dog. Keep the hips lifting, lift the front ribs. Walk the feet forward. Bent knee, forward fold. Reach the arms forward and up. Hands come down. Bring a block toward the left foot. It's going to be on the lowest, the medium, the highest setting, whatever feels good, and we'll pick up the right foot and flex it. Externally rotate. Tap your right foot onto the block. So whatever height is good for that right hip, and then pick it up, step it down, pick up that right foot, externally rotate, tap the block like we're coming into a figure four. One more time, step that right foot down. Pick up the right foot, externally rotate. You can cross it and tap it on the block. If it can cross over that left thigh, you can sit back into a figure four here, or you can sit back with that foot on the block. So the block could be much closer to the ground. Let's keep that pelvis neutral. Good, step that right foot down off the block, grab a block. It's gonna be between the hands just like we did above, but now the hands are just in front of the heart. Right foot steps back for that lunge. And then let's turn to the right, tap as if we're turning into a high lunge to the back. And then turn to the front. Just adding that little extra of holding a block. You can even give it a little squeeze the whole time to really get the chest muscles and the arm muscles a little bit more active. Staying light on the feet. Let's turn to the front. Right hand comes down. Modified side plank where we just were. Right hand under the shoulder. Slide that right knee in. Left foot steps back. Left arm reaches up. Now secure that right shoulder so the top of the shoulder isn't wiggling around. And let's reach the left fingers toward the ground like we're trying to tap the left fingers down. And then reach that left arm back up. Tap those left fingers. There's going to be a little bit of rotation in the spine. And then reach it back up. One more time. Reach the fingers down. Lift it back up. Plant the hands. Down dog. Lift the hips, lift the ribs. Walk it forward. Bend knee forward, fold. Grab your block as you rise up. Step your right foot back. Turn to the right. We're facing the side of the mat. Heels in, toes out for a squat. Palm the block. We're going to reach the block up overhead. So if you need to be more diagonal, if that's better on the shoulders, do that, especially if we're popping the ribs forward. So keep that nice zippered up feeling. Hug the block. So palms really push into the block. See if we can bend the elbows. So we're reaching that block back, working the triceps, and then lift back up, but try not to have any movement in the ribs. So we're keeping the elbows kind of snugged in, reaching back up. Feel around the shoulders and the triceps. Really pushing the hands into the block. Try not to arch the back. Good, straighten the legs. Warrior two, so left toes already kind of turned out. Turn those right toes in. Block will come into that right hand for warrior two. So left leg is bent, right leg is straight. And let's reverse it. Breathe into the left side of the rib cage. Warrior two. Now keep the block in that right hand as you reach it up and over. You might feel more of a stretch or pull there on that right side body. Bring it up, warrior two. Reverse it. Warrior two. Variation, reach that right arm up and over. Warrior two. Go ahead, step it forward, front of the mat. Grab that block, put it back up between the thighs, second side. Just standing here, we're gonna feel more of that engagement all the way up into the core just by having the block to hug in on. Glutes try to wrap down and touch the block. Arms come forward and up. Keep that engagement in the lower half as you sit back. Spine stays long. Remove the block. Left foot steps back into our high lunge. Palm the block. Reach it up. Zipper that front body up. Firm the left glute. We're turning the ribs without turning the low back to the right. And then unwind. So just to the right this time toward that front leg. Turning and back. But we're firm in that left glute. We're drawing those pelvic points in. Good, bring it down to the ground. Quadruped is a transition. Put the block between the thighs, but have most of it sticking out behind you because we're gonna lower down. Walk those knees back into a modified plank. Just like when we were standing, hug the block. Feel the tailbone slightly reach down toward the block. Lower the rest of the way down. Low cobra, drag the hands back. Draw the pelvic points in, keep hugging in on the block. And then tuck the toes, reverse push up. The block is gonna help engage the core as we lift back onto the knees. Good. Walk the knees in, remove the block. Tuck the toes, downward dog. Take a breath or two here, breathing into the ribs. Walk it forward. Bend knee forward, fold. Reach those arms forward and up. Good, let's quickly bring the block to that right side at any height. Pick up the left foot. Externally rotate the hip, tap it. And then bring it back to that standing position. Pick up the left foot, externally rotate the hip and tap down. One more time. Pick up that left foot. Externally rotate, you can tap onto the block or cross it over for that figure four. Pushing into that right big toe. Good, release it. We're gonna head right to quadruped, hands and knees. If you've got two blocks, you can use them. If you've got one block, you don't need to have it. You can cat-cow how you normally do, or you can try a cross-legged cat-cow where you cross one knee behind the other and try a couple cat-cows there. This can help get some of that outer hip involved. And then if you're doing that crossed version, switch sides. Uncross, and we'll make our way into a seated position. You're welcome to sit on your blocks if that makes it more comfortable. Hands can rest at your sides or on your ribs. Let's take a big breath into the ribs, front, side, and back. And as you exhale it out completely, take a moment to thank yourself for your practice. And as you take one more breath in and out, send one grateful thought out into the universe.